Are you still exhausted by the US election and relieved we don't have to go through that again for another 3 years? Then we have some terrible news. The campaign for 2028 has begun, and a group of Republicans already has a candidate in mind. Who is it?
It's hard to imagine, but there are people alive today who can remember what US elections looked like without Donald Trump.
Just goes on forever.
Now, Don's on-again, off-again advisor, Steve Bannon, has dropped a bit of a bombshell.
I am a firm believer that President Trump will run and win again in 2028. A man like this comes along once every century if we're lucky.
While this may sound like little more than the usual effervescent support of Dear Leader from his loyal followers, one online bookmaker puts Trump's odds of winning again at 5-1, second only to J.D. Vance.
If history has taught us anything, is that they really do mean what they have been saying.
Steve Bannon is trying to create tension in the political sphere. He's trying to basically intimidate the political opposition.
Concern over a potential third dose of Donald goes far beyond fears he'll use the presidency to further test the US Constitution.
The Constitution, they don't even know what they're talking. Well,
It's the fact that a third term would itself violate the Constitution. The last president to stick around for more than 2 terms was Franklin Roosevelt.
Hello.
After his 4th consecutive win in 1944, lawmakers decided to add some presidential guardrails. By 1951, the 22nd Amendment was ratified, making term limits the law of the land. 2 terms and you're done. But Steve Bannon doesn't seem terribly bothered by trivial matters like legality.
well, that would require amending the Constitution.
Well, we'll see about that. We'll see what the definition of term limit is.
Yes, Bannon reckons he's found a loophole, claiming the amendment only applies to consecutive terms.
Since it doesn't actually say consecutive, maybe we do it again in 28.
This notion of consecutive terms is, in my view, crazy because it doesn't appear in the Constitution. But that's not what's at play here. Bannon is going to try to create the view that that possibility might exist.
Abolishing term limits under US law is a very complicated process, but other world leaders have managed to do it, including China's Xi Jinping and Russia's Vladimir Putin. So Donald would be in good... well, he'd be in company.
I said, president for life, that sounds good. Maybe we're going to have to try it.
But how does Donald, who'll be a sprightly 82 when the next election comes around, feel about extending his lease on the White House?
It will be the greatest honor of my life to serve not once, but twice, or 3 times, or 4 times.
See, you think he's serious, but then he does that little thing with his hand. Yeah, that thing. And gosh, could he just be joking?
I'm joking,
Donald Trump is joking until he's not joking.
but I'm joking.
It's impossible to know what he will do because he fakes it until he's there and insists that that's where they're going. And that's part of Steve Bannon's strategy.
We're not going to retreat. We're not going to surrender. We're not going to quit. Fight, fight, fight.
So we're basing the whole thing off his advisor from 8 years ago who hosts a podcast that he might run in 2028.
Not only that.
What else? By him making jokes.
Yeah.
Okay.
My fingers are crossed. Good for comedy. Keep him in there as long as possible.
I think in the end it doesn't matter, right? Because it just comes down to whether or not there's a constitutional
Constitutionally,
argument.
you can't do it. That's
And
right.
then-
I mean, most
yeah.
Republicans think that too. It's like, what is it, Amendment 22 or something that
Yeah.
cannot be changed? It won't happen.
Well,
But if
well,
people-
unless they change that.
Yeah, if people could come back, then we could have an Obama-Trump double header.
So this is...
I'll leave us Fraser. This is
Imagine.
Yeah,
exciting.
this is the unintended consequence of it.
That
is-
would be incredible.
So what would a Trump-Obama contest look like? Because I can't decide whether Obama would totally wipe the floor with him or get nowhere near him.
He
I
might
think it's
get-
one of
Trump
those two
might wipe
things.
the
And I
floor
honestly
with
don't.
Obama. You
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
what I'm saying. But I can't actually tell which one it would be.
One way to
Yeah.
find out.
Let's do it. All right.
Rip open that Constitution.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
get into it.